In Davos with Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi, and she is the Human Settlements Minister, but here wearing the cap of the head of economic policy of the ANC, and of course, government's paying for the ticket.
I'm the head of the economic cluster in cabinet.
Exactly right. And so it's an interesting role to be bringing to Davos. What are you picking up in the halls of Davos?
No, the role is critical because we remember the economic cluster drove the development of the ERRP, which is Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan that the president announced, and its implementation. So it's good to be here, listening to the feedback if we have been able to make the right noise, if the noise that of implementation have gotten to the right ears. Now, meeting with Business South Africa this morning, it was clear that we have not been communicating enough because many of them didn't know that what we are committed in the ERRP, we've implemented 60% of it. This has always been our criticism that we are not implementing enough. Now, talking to global partners as well, they want to know how are we doing after COVID, being impacted upon COVID, but also a good message about a country that is resilient. People remember us when we were almost isolated because of the variant and how we fought back as a country. And the role that the president played in terms of interacting with global communities to ensure vaccine equity, the issue of the patents. So all those, yes, COVID was bad, but at some point South Africa was able to come out in terms of leadership. And that's what now people are saying.
Each one of the ratings agencies has given us a little uplift. So yes, taking us from a negative outlook to a neutral outlook, or as S&P has done, has put it on a positive outlook. It's tiny, infinitesimal, critical steps that are being taken. But when you sit in a place like Davos and nobody's wearing masks because everybody in Switzerland is vaccinated and the World Economic Forum is testing everybody to make sure the COVID isn't brought into this environment, we've also missed opportunities as well in terms of really seizing the nettle in terms of turning our economy around. And I think that's the frustration that many international investors have, certainly people I talk to here. They go, but where is the progress? And unfortunately, progress takes a long time.
Look, we've made a lot of progress, Bruce, and I think the issue is we've not been communicating. Last week, or 2 weeks back, we released the report on structural reforms. So the positive outlook of the rating agencies is not coming out of an osmosis. It's because we've gone out, we've committed to say, these are the things we are going to do. And we've produced a report to say, we have done so much. Okay. And that's positive reporting. Now, globally, as we talk about global community here, and that's why it's important for us to participate, because the intermediary communication where some people are communicating on our behalf and the message of which we are carrying is not directly going. And that's why it's important for us to be here, talking directly to investors, giving them the feedback, listening to them, and getting the answers from us directly is important.
2 years ago, Tito Mboweni led the delegation, and I was in a session with him and investors, and the frustration was around electricity and around water and around poverty and inequality. Those are, in fact, factors that have possibly worsened over the last 2 years. Water and electricity, primarily electricity. I mean, real concern.
Let me explain. On the water, compared to when Minister Mboweni was here, we had, for example, when you were applying for water licenses, for example, you would take more than 90 days to get your application. Today, you get less than that. We've improved. That's the report we are issued on the Operation Vulindlela structural reform. Previously, when Minister Mboweni was here, we were talking about increasing the pace of IPPs, you'd remember, as the part of generation. If we look at it, we've surpassed the deadline. The last one that was issued by Minister Mantashe was meant to come out next year in 2023. We've improved. Have we done everything we needed to do with the energy? Not yet, because we still have load shedding. And that's why this week you'd have picked up that Minister Godan spoke about the capacity in terms of technical capacity that we lost. And my appeal even to business community to say, please release the people, because many people have gone to private sector. They worry about coming back to government. And that's what we are battling with. Not that we're not willing to re-attract the skills. It's difficult because they're not willing to come back. And you'd understand, I mean, we've seen the state capture impact on people's professional careers. And people are cautious about it. And that's why we are paying attention to say, can we start making an appeal from both internally in the country and those that have left to come back and assist us from the level of a plant, where they can be able to say plant management so that we can do maintenance. So part of what we'll be doing now, between now and the 18 months to come, is to zoom into those areas and ensure that, yes, we'll have load shedding for now, but we have to start sorting out the maintenance, because we do need that. Because a lot of people thought that when you issue, the IPPs, you'll have electricity coming immediately. It doesn't. Yeah. The planning and the implementation of those projects, lead time is longer. There's transmission. We're paying attention to build capacity of the transmission so that when they come on board, they will be able to. So there is now paying attention into doing all the things that we need to do. And I think, and I think we are turning the tide. And that's what we are saying. From where we were at a station where we were not moving, but the train has moved from the station now.
Do you feel that South Africa is keeping up with the rest of the world? Just the level of conversations happening here, technology conversations, artificial intelligence, the way in which technology is driving the world. We talk about fourth industrial revolution a lot. Are we keeping up, do you think?
We are. We've got quite a lot of excellence in terms of research and development that we hardly talk about. You take, for example, this week, Prof. Marwala at UJ was graduating 5 PhDs in that field. He specializes. UJ has become one of the centers of excellence, one of the most globally black universities that is renowned and known. We didn't have that previously. Now, there is quite a lot of work. You look at what we have done with research and development around vaccines, or even identification of the variant. We hardly talk about that. That's the work of South Africa.
Every time we talk about it, the world blames us for another variant. So
but when we look at it, it's actually technology and research and development. We've led on the science. Yes. So that's why we need to constantly say, this is what, South Africa, because we're quite modest. I think it's African nature which we need to get out. Modest about our successes, and we almost talk about where we need to improve. Instead of boosting about our success, we talk about these are the areas we need to improve. But there are areas of excellence that we need to showcase, we need to show. I mean, you go to CSIR, the work that they've been doing in terms of 3D printing. It's in South Africa that a doctor did a transplant in terms of a heart transplant. It's in South Africa in terms of technology.
We used to come to Davos with big delegations, 100 people, and scarves at summertime, so we don't wear scarves. We've got umbrellas for the rain instead. You don't like the scarves. But we used to come in really box above our weight. We used to show off. We're not showing off at the moment. I feel like we've lost a sense of personal pride.
No.
How do we get it back?
No, we haven't. If you look, we're not the only one. Check the number of heads of states who are here. The issue is that globally, in terms of the global calendar, COVID has disrupted that. So you'd have in your calendar as a country that January is Davos. So you wouldn't have nothing else disrupting that. So
will the president be in Davos in January next year, COVID permitting?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Because in our calendar of events, it's dedicated for that. Now, with the disruption, moving it from January to May, it coincides, for example, in government in South Africa with the budget votes. No minister wants to leave parliament without going to parliament to deliver their budget vote, because parliamentarians will be very upset. You will not get an approval of your budget. So I've done mine. That's why I can be here. But as well, it competes with other global events.
Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor, in South Africa
this week. The president is going again to Botswana this week in terms of his work for SADC. So that's why it's not about only that you have lesser. It's the calendar that we are all trying to fit in. And I think even UEFA are trying to find a nicer and better slot if they have to move from January, so that it doesn't compete with other UN activities, because even now, you'd know that there's quite a high level of meeting for labor and ministers of labor. There's quite a high level meeting in the continent for ministers of finance, fighting for space with this one. There's ministers of health as well, somewhere. So if you look at the global activities, this time is not ideal. I think that's where we are finding ourselves, and that's why we had to reduce the delegation. It's not because we are not aggressive, but again, remember even the participation here. What WEF says, you register, it's limited number of people. So you can't have a huge delegation for people to come and roam in, because the numbers where you used to come and you are able to say, okay, this is the activities we assign ourselves, ministers that can participate today, it's worth assigning per minister to say this is the rooms that you can go to because of the limited space.
It's a massively popular event. I mean, and do you feel like you get your mind blown in Davos? I just love coming here because you see people that you only ever see on TV, for example, and you're in the room with them. I was sitting talking to Mandy Wiener doing a live crossing, and John Kerry came past. I was, there's John Kerry. It's just the most magnificent sort of space.
Not only just to see them, but having ideas and discussions, which we are all finding solutions to the problems we have globally. It's a platform for engagement. It's a platform to form partnerships. It's a platform where you are able to cement your relations. If they've become weaker, you are able to hold on and grab somebody for tea, coffee, because it's easier and have discussions. You see somebody that you've been looking for, you are able to say, hey, exchange business cards, can we have coffee? We need to have this discussion. So it's a platform that is very valuable, very critical and important, and that's why it's important for us to be present and showcase, and that's why we've been very busy since we arrived.
You have, I have. I've seen it in the room next door. Mmamoloko Kubayi, the minister let's get that one right. Got too many titles. Mmamoloko Kubayi, thank you very much indeed. She is the Minister of Human Settlements, but also the head of the economic cluster in the South African Cabinet.